What are you feeling?
Oh wow. Oh wow, okay.
YouTubers are known for taking huge risks just to get some views, but sometimes they don't go their own way.
Oh my god. It's over, guys. It's finally over, but I literally almost died there.
From falling off the roof of your house to literally slicing your face open, here are times when YouTubers barely escaped alive.
Please tell me you had that.
I got that.
Oh!
I'm fine.
Jeff Wittek. So, back in June 2020, Jeff Wittek got seriously injured while filming a stunt with David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad in Utah. The whole thing went down when Dobrik was operating this huge excavator over a shallow lake, and Wittek was swinging from a rope attached to it. Things got crazy when Dobrik spun him around too fast and suddenly stopped, causing Jeff to smack into the excavator and fall into the water upside down, with his foot still stuck in the rope. He ended up with a fractured skull, a broken eye socket, a busted hip, and torn ligaments in his leg. Despite all that, he kept filming his series, Jeff's Barbershop, without really talking about the injuries. Then, in April 2021, Jeff released a docuseries called Don't Try This at Home, where he laid out what happened and how he was recovering. He also opened up about how the accident affected his friendship with David. However, after the first episode, he had to switch to Patreon because the injury footage was too graphic for YouTube. His Patreon blew up, gaining 37,000 followers in just the first 10 days, making him one of the top creators there, especially for 18+ content.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
Fast forward to March 2022, some leaked footage from Casey Neistat's documentary and an episode of Dobrik's podcast surfaced, where David seemed to blame Jeff for the accident. He suggested that it was Wittek's idea and that he should take more responsibility. Jeff wasn't having any of it and shot back in a video on his Jeff FM channel saying he didn't want to go on Dobrik's podcast because he felt David would twist his words to make him look bad. Then in June 2022, it came out that Jeff was actually suing Dobrik over the 2020 accident. The lawsuit didn't get into all the nitty-gritty details about his injuries, but in his docuseries, Jeff mentioned he almost lost his eye, which was part of the suit. He even claimed he almost died that day. David responded saying Jeff knew the risks of the stunt and wanted the judge to toss the case out. Want to find out more about crazy YouTuber accidents? Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. We've got a lot more where that came from.
Which one is cuter? Like for the dog, comment for the cat.
Coyote Peterson. Coyote Peterson is the one famous for getting up close with all sorts of animals to show how they defend themselves through bites and stings. One of the most dangerous insects he's ever come across is the velvet ant, which is actually not an ant at all. It's a type of solitary wasp from the Mutility family. People call them cow killer ants, but that's just a nickname. These velvet ants are super colorful and fuzzy, usually black with bright red, orange, yellow, or white patches. The females are wingless and can look a lot like regular ants, while the males have wings and more of a wasp vibe. They're pretty small, ranging from about 1/8 to 7/8 inches long. The sting from a female velvet ant is known for being incredibly painful. She has a curved, needle-like stinger that's almost as long as her body, which allows her to aim it pretty effectively. The pain from her sting is no joke. It's often said to be one of the most painful insect stings out there. They get the cow killer nickname because of a myth that their sting is so painful it could kill a cow. But that's definitely exaggerated. The pain is intense and usually lasts about 30 minutes, but some people say they feel discomfort and swelling for a day or two afterward. And Coyote decided it would be a good idea to get stung by one. Safe to say he did not have a good time at all, and said it was one of the worst pain he's ever felt. That's not the only insect he's been stung by though. There's also the bullet ant. This guy hurt so bad that Coyote initially thought the bullet ant had the worst sting out there. But after more adventures, he reconsidered that claim. Still, the bullet ant sting is legendary. It's often described as feeling like getting shot. No joke. That's why it's called the 24-hour ant, since the pain can stick around for a whole day. The bullet ant, specifically the Paraponera clavata species, has a sting that can last anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, and it feels like this deep, drilling pain that hits you right in the bones. This entomologist named Justin Schmidt, who made the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, and he rated the bullet ant's sting at 4.0 plus, the highest on his scale. He described the sensation as being like walking on flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail stuck in your heel. The reason the pain is so intense comes from the ant's venom, which has neurotoxins that mess with your nerve cells. They make it so the pain signals just keep firing, similar to how some scorpion stings work. Rodashaw. Rodashaw found himself in a pretty scary situation while filming a video. He was attempting a fun activity where he sat on his roof and threw a soccer ball down to his brother, who would kick it into a goal set up below. The goal was to create some entertaining content for his audience, but things took an unexpected turn. While trying to kick the ball, Harry slipped off the edge of the roof, landing on top of his dad's car, then falling on the road. The moment was intense and shocking for anyone watching. As he fell, viewers were left wondering about his safety. Fortunately, he landed safely and emerged from the incident without any serious injuries. The slip might have been alarming, but it turned out to be just a close call rather than a dangerous accident. The same can't be said for his dad's car, though. He seemed pretty upset about the damage done to it. This isn't the first time he's found himself in a precarious situation while trying to film something entertaining. In a memorable moment during a Sidemen video, he attempted to jump onto a moving car, thinking it would be funny. As he made the jump, things didn't go as planned. He ended up falling directly onto the ground and landed hard on his head. The impact created a loud noise that startled everyone watching, but the sound wasn't actually from his head hitting the ground. Instead, it was mostly from the camera that fell along with him. Luckily, Harry primarily landed on his shoulder, which absorbed most of the impact, sparing him from serious injury. Although he was fine by the end of it, fans couldn't help but wonder how much worse it could have gone. Skippy62 Abel. The trend of smoking alcohol took off after YouTuber Skippy62 Abel shared a video demonstrating how to vaporize booze using a simple setup: a plastic bottle, a cork, and a bicycle pump. His casual DIY approach caught the attention of many viewers, but this isn't as safe as it seems. Inspired by Skippy62 Abel's tutorial, a couple of guys decided to give it a shot themselves. They gathered supplies like a large water bottle, red wine, vodka, and a tall can of beer, eager to replicate the experience. But the cork from their wine bottle was too thin to fit snugly in the water bottle. They attempted a makeshift solution by wrapping duct tape around the cork to create a tighter seal. Things got even more chaotic when they tried to attach the cork to the pump, resulting in more failed attempts. With some improvisation, a friend attempted to help by supergluing a hollowed-out pen into the bike pump. But that only led to further mishaps, including one of them inhaling superglue fumes instead of alcohol. After a failed first attempt, they regrouped and returned with the right equipment. This time, they found a suitable cork, but it didn't fit any of their water bottles. They scavenged for another bottle and finally managed to get everything in place. After all the trouble, they started off with beer, but the high was underwhelming. Moving on to vodka, one guy took multiple hits, only to realize that despite feeling a bit strange, he wasn't actually getting drunk. He described it as feeling like brain damage, but without the enjoyable effects of alcohol. Well, according to professionals, inhaling alcohol vapors is super dangerous and can seriously mess with your health. First off, when you inhale alcohol, it skips the whole digestive process and goes straight into your bloodstream through your lungs. This means you can get a super quick and intense high, which sounds fun, but it also increases your risk of alcohol poisoning. Your body might not be able to keep up with processing all that alcohol, and symptoms of poisoning include confusion, vomiting, pale or blue skin, seizures, low body temperature, and even passing out. Then there's the lung damage. Breathing in heated or super cold alcohol vapors can harm your lungs and lead to long-term breathing issues. The vapors can irritate your lungs and cause problems similar to inhaling other harmful substances. And let's not forget about your brain. Since the alcohol gets to your brain so quickly, it can mess with brain development, especially in teens and young adults whose brains are still growing. It can also make it easier to become addicted to alcohol because it binds to brain receptors really fast. Studies on rats have shown that chronic exposure to alcohol vapors can lead to increased anxiety, a stronger desire to seek alcohol, and worse withdrawal symptoms. Finally, one of the scariest parts is that inhaling alcohol doesn't give you the usual warning signs you get from drinking. When you drink, your stomach might get irritated, and you might throw up, which tells you to stop. But with inhaling, you might not feel those signals, making it way easier to overdo it without realizing the danger you're in. Ben Brown.
Are you guys alright? Is everyone okay? Are you alright? Is everyone okay?
Vlogger Ben Brown, who unintentionally captured his own car crash on camera while he was filming with friends. Ben was sitting in the passenger seat, having a good time joking around with his mates for a TV show they were working on. They were in Berlin shooting a travel photography series, which sounds pretty cool, but things took a serious turn when another car slammed into the side of theirs. The whole dramatic moment was caught on a GoPro camera, which Ben later uploaded to his YouTube channel. In the footage, you can see Ben admiring a large vehicle passing by when suddenly he unwittingly causes a distraction. Just seconds later, their car is plowed into at a junction, and it all happens so fast. You can hear the impact, and it's pretty shocking. The force of the crash sends all 4 guys in the car lurching to the side. Luckily, both Ben and the man sitting behind him were saved by the side airbag that deployed on impact, along with their seatbelts, which prevented any serious injuries. As the crash unfolds, the footage shows the chaos inside the car, with everyone in shock. Ben exclaims, "Oh my God," while the panicked driver, Steve Booker, checks on everyone, asking if they're all okay. Outside footage captures how another car drove right into theirs at the junction, making it clear just how serious the situation was. In the back seat, you can see the other 2 guys holding their heads in disbelief. All of them were shocked, and Ben, wincing from the impact, quips, "God, that took me down." As the police arrive, you can hear the guys expressing their astonishment at what just happened. Ben Brown is no stranger to adrenaline, having spent a decade as a competitive athlete on the British flatwater kayak team, where he won several championships. Recently, he shifted gears to focus on filmmaking, photography, and travel, building a substantial following on YouTube with over 500,000 subscribers and more than 76 million views on his channel. Ryan Higa. In this clip, Ryan and his friends are attempting a stunt that involves throwing various fruits, including bananas, pineapples, and a giant watermelon. They set up the scene, and one of his friends, Greg, jokingly warns Ryan that this could be dangerous. As the game starts off, Ryan gets hit in the face when the watermelon collides with the sword he's holding, causing an immediate reaction. At first, Ryan brushes off the injury, saying he's fine, but it quickly becomes clear that he's actually hurt pretty badly. His friends express concern as he starts bleeding, and he humorously tries to downplay the seriousness of the situation, mentioning that MMA fighters deal with injuries all the time. However, the reality of his injury sets in, and Ryan admits that he might need to go to the hospital. Once at the hospital, Ryan still tries to keep the mood light, joking about whether he needs to act like he's in more pain to get treated faster. He talks about the absurdity of the whole situation while waiting for medical attention. In the end, he shares a valuable lesson about safety, urging viewers not to do reckless things just for entertainment, no matter how funny they might seem. Vic Star.
Oh, that's good. Ow. My shoulder's really hurting after that one.
Vic Star, one of the popular YouTubers known for his gaming content and being part of the Sidemen group, had quite a scary accident while skiing that had fans worried. During a skiing trip, Vic was dared by his friends to attempt a trick. As is often the case with these kinds of dares, things didn't go as planned, and he ended up seriously injuring himself. He can be seen preparing to execute a trick while skiing, probably thinking he was about to impress everyone with his skills. However, as he attempted the move, something went wrong, and he took a hard fall. The impact was pretty severe, and you can hear him crying out in pain as he hits the ground. He tried to firm it right after the accident, saying it didn't really hurt that bad, but it was clear something was wrong. It was obvious the adrenaline at the moment was the only thing keeping him together. Later, when the pain kept getting worse and worse, he realized he had to go to the hospital. Once he reached, he realized he'd broken his collarbone. After the accident, he was in a lot of discomfort, but tried to keep a sense of humor about it. The guys around him were pretty supportive, but you could tell he was frustrated with how things went down. So off to the hospital he went, where they prepared him for surgery. In the operating room, things got a little surreal. Vic was awake during part of the procedure, which is pretty scary. He could feel what they were doing, but luckily there wasn't any pain. After the surgery, he was in recovery, dealing with the aftermath of his collarbone being fixed up with some metal screws and staples. What made the situation even more dramatic was how candid Vicstar was about the experience. He documented his journey from the accident to his hospital stay, giving fans an inside look at what it was like to go through such a tough moment. He even joked about the situation, showing that despite the pain, he maintained a positive attitude and a sense of humor. He later reassured his followers that he was okay. He shared updates on social media, showing that while he was in pain and recovering from the injuries, he was on the mend. Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast and a couple of friends had just finished filming a video 8 hours away and were driving back home around midnight. According to Jimmy, they'd all slept well, and none of them drank alcohol or anything else either, so everything was normal. They were listening to Joe Rogan's podcast while getting home and things seemed fine. But then suddenly, his friend who was driving said he wasn't feeling well. Out of nowhere, he just slumped over, completely unconscious while still behind the wheel. At first, Mr. Beast thought his friend was joking or just a little sleepy, but it quickly became clear that he was actually out cold. With the car speeding down the highway, Mr. Beast jumped into action. He grabbed the wheel to keep the car steady, while Tyler, in the back seat, punched Andrew in the head to try to wake him up. The car was accelerating fast, and Mr. Beast realized he had to get his friend's foot off the gas, but there was a console in the way. Another problem was that he couldn't really move his friend's foot off the brake without leaning down, which would obstruct his view of the traffic. On top of that, he was wearing his seatbelt too, which was making things much more difficult. He somehow managed to lean down, remove his friend's foot from the pedal, and steer the car off the highway using the sound of the tires on the strip as a guide. Just when he thought they were safe, his friend suddenly came back to life and stomped on the gas, causing them to slam into a concrete wall. After the crash, Tyler helped Jimmy's friend by lifting his legs above his heart, which miraculously got his heart beating again. It turns out Andrew had a rare condition that caused his heart to stop. Thankfully, after some medical intervention and getting a pacemaker, he's fine now. Luke Demont. On October 26, 2019, Luke's life took a dramatic turn during the colorful celebrations of Diwali in Kerala, India. This festival, known for its joyful atmosphere and lively fireworks, would be marked by a tragic event that changed everything for him. While he was caught up in the festive spirit, a faulty firecracker led to a devastating accident. In a split second, what was supposed to be a moment of fun turned into chaos when the firecracker exploded. Luke suffered severe injuries to his hand, losing several fingers, including his middle finger. His thumb was left badly damaged, almost hanging off, making it a horrifying scene for anyone to witness. Immediately after the explosion, Luke was rushed to the hospital, where emergency medical staff jumped into action. The extent of his injuries required urgent surgery, so he was prepped for his first operation as soon as he arrived. The medical team worked hard to stabilize his condition, focusing on saving what they could of his hand and giving him the best chance to regain some functionality. The road to recovery was long and tough. Luke didn't just have to cope with the physical pain from his injuries, he also had to navigate the emotional and psychological impact of the traumatic event. Losing fingers meant he faced numerous challenges in performing everyday tasks that most people take for granted. The reality of his situation hit hard, and he found himself grappling with a deep sense of loss and the knowledge that he would never fully regain the use of his hand. 3 months post-accident, Luke made his way back to Kerala to check in with his surgeon, Dr. Manoj, who had performed the life-saving operation. This visit was important for him. It was a chance to assess how well he was recovering and to talk about what treatment options lay ahead. During this visit, Luke felt immense gratitude toward Dr. Manoj for saving his hand and helping him regain some of its functionality. The bond they formed was strong. Luke considered Dr. Manoj a true lifesaver, someone who had a profound impact on his recovery journey. However, life threw another challenge at him in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic. Travel restrictions made it difficult for Luke to return for nearly 2.5 years. The pandemic not only delayed his follow-up appointments, but also postponed any further surgeries that might have been needed. During this challenging time, he focused on adjusting to his new normal, learning to adapt his daily activities, and finding ways to navigate the world with his injuries. After 3 years, Luke finally returned to Kerala, filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Revisiting the site of his accident stirred up a flood of emotions, and he was bracing himself for the memories that would inevitably come rushing back. When he arrived at the hospital and met Dr. Manoj again, it was a heartfelt reunion. They shared a moment filled with gratitude and reflection on everything that had happened. Dr. Manoj updated Luke on the possibility of future surgeries to address lingering issues, like a contracted finger, which provided Luke with reassurance and hope for the future. Tefue. Tefue's skateboarding accident is a crazy story that really shows how quickly things can go wrong. Tefue is skateboarding around his neighborhood, doing his thing on a skateboard. He's known for his crazy skills, but he's also known for taking risks. This time, he's making some sharp turns at a pretty high speed. Now, that alone is risky because sharp turns can easily lead to losing control, especially if you don't know what's coming around the corner. As he's zipping along, he makes this tight turn, and out of nowhere, a car comes barreling around the corner right in front of him. It's one of those moments where time seems to slow down. Thankfully, both Tefue and the driver are paying enough attention to realize what's about to go down. They both hit the brakes, trying to slow down as fast as they can. It turns out the driver is actually his friend, Phase K. Talk about a relief. If it had been a stranger, the outcome could have been way worse. They both get out of their vehicles, probably still a bit shaken up. It's crazy how close Tefue came to getting seriously hurt, but luck was on his side this time. Jelly. During Jelly's wild roller coaster ride, he was having the time of his life, fully immersed in it all. The coaster was zipping along at crazy speeds, and he was loving every second of it, screaming, laughing, and just soaking it all in. But then, out of nowhere, things took a terrifying turn. As he flew through a loop, he noticed a metal pole that was sticking out farther than it should have. Before he knew it, he smacked his head right against it. Definitely not the kind of thrill he signed up for. Thankfully, Jelly walked away with just a minor bump on his head. Considering how dangerous roller coasters can be, he definitely got lucky this time. Was there any YouTuber that we might have missed? Do you think these incidents could have gone even worse than they did?